happened in Egypt, which was a statement from the U.S. government. The first statement that came out, and it said, at its start, we apologize.
Senator, as you know, the statement from the U.S. Embassy in Cairo was issued before there were any attacks. They were issued because there was concern about protests. Do you know that?
No, I was not aware that it was issued before there were any attacks, but I still think, Nora, it implies that somehow these attacks could be justified.
But it came out before the triumph of talking points. Ohio Senator Rob Portman totally incoherently leading the Republican charge to fall in line with Mitt Romney's attack on the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, an attack he launched late Tuesday night as the embassy and the consulate in Benghazi were still in danger, as reports of at least one American death were already coming in. Republicans at first, frankly, I think to their credit, seemed appalled by Mr. Romney's decision to go into political attack mode while the country was under actual attack overseas. But today we have seen more and more Republicans stick up for Mr. Romney on this issue, thus finding themselves forced, as Rob Portman was on CBS this morning, to adopt Mitt Romney's attack on the U.S. Embassy as their own. And that's forever. Joining us now is Bob Herbert, Distinguished Senior Fellow at Demos Public Policy and Advocacy Center, also contributor at PolicyShop.net. Bob, it is great to see you. Thanks for being here.
You too, Rachel.
Am I being unfair to Mr. Portman?
Oh, not at all. I mean, that's outrageous. You know, the Republican Party has become a party without scruples. It's really amazing now. They'll just lie at a level in this campaign that I really haven't seen. You know, politicians have distorted the truth since time immemorial. I understand that, but the kind of the lies that are coming out of this campaign are really amazing. And then the level of irresponsibility. I mean, this is a really this is a tragic situation. It is still unbelievably dangerous. And these comments coming out from Mitt Romney and others in the party are undermining the president at a time when the United States really needs to be putting its best minds together to diffuse this situation if it's at all possible.
I felt like there was an outbreak of scrupulousness, outbreak of scruples for less than 24 hours, but for a period yesterday when when mainstream journalists, people who do not have a dog in the fight, mainstream political commentators who are essentially observers of the process, and a lot of Republicans, named and unnamed, were at least willing to say, this was a misstep. Yes, even when people were willing to say, Mitt Romney is still my guy, this is a misstep, this is not the way you handle this, you put essentially your country first, not to coin a phrase. That lasted for a little while. That seems to be over as of like
what happens is it's the party that doesn't have scruples. So people who are standing up and saying what they really believe or maybe saying the right thing suddenly are just whipped into line. So now it's like the party has to toe the party line, not by saying that Romney made a mistake or that Romney spoke too quickly or anything along those lines, but saying, yeah, oh, well, you know, actually somehow he was right. When in fact, of course, he was not right. But, you know, they're paying a real price for this. I mean, what happens in a presidential election as opposed to primaries, for example, excuse me, is in addition to looking at the issues, voters look at the candidates themselves, and they get an impression of the candidates that they take into the voting booth in November. And when they've had a chance now to compare President Obama and to compare Mitt Romney, and in that comparison, Romney has been failing. Obama, whatever anybody feels about his policies, people understand that he knows the issues, that he's a steady hand at the tiller, and that he is not an irresponsible person. He's a mature leader. Romney has been all over the map. People don't know what he really believes in, and frequently he has behaved irresponsibly. So he's failing that comparison test.
Do you feel like the foreign policy experience weakness, the on-paper weakness of this ticket has been magnified in a way that's going to be hard for them to reverse?
Oh, absolutely. But what shocks me is, you know, Romney has no foreign policy background, but he's an intelligent guy. He's had plenty of time to get up to speed on these major issues that he knew that he would have to confront first in the campaign, but more important, that he would have to confront if he were the president of the United States. And he has not demonstrated that he has mastered any of these issues.
Even when it just comes to the sort of mores of appropriate and serious behavior when confronted with a violent attack on an American interest, even if you don't know what to do, fake it until you make it. Follow what the adults are doing.
Exactly.
It's not that hard. Pretend. Copy some old tape.
Completely agree.
Bob Herbert, Distinguished Senior Fellow at Demos. Thanks for being here, Bob.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right.